The intention for this presentation is to discover what makes a woman a powerful leader, to notice how women face challenges and overcome, to also celebrate the women of history, to inspire and acknowledge the power of the legacy curriculum in coaching and a commitment to impact other women leaders. And also, you guys are going to help me. You're involved. So thank you in advance. So I want you to think about this. For you, what makes a powerful woman leader? What is power? What is leadership? So we're going to think about that, and for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be talking about different powerful women leaders, what they mean to you, what you think about when you're thinking about leadership, power, and the women in our lives. So to get started, we're going to identify one word that for you describes a quality of leadership. Very quickly, if you could give me one word. Rebecca?
Giving.
Heather?
Love.
Nancy?
Compassion.
Nicole?
Defiance.
Ooh, I like that. Sean?
Authenticity.
Ooh. Becca?
Passion.
Passion. Angela?
Hope.
Hope. Tanya?
Strong.
Strong. Robin?
Clear.
Clear. And Christine?
Inspiring.
Nice. I want you to go ahead and look at those words. We have defiance, authentic, potent, strong, inspiring, giving, love, compassion, passion, and clear. When you think about what makes a strong woman leader, the answer is yes, it's all these things. Leadership is a lifestyle. Leadership is a choice. Whether you do all of these things some of the time, or some of them all of the time, increasing your capacity in these areas is sure to improve your impact on the world and maximize your capacity for leadership. You can be a woman of impact in your workplace, within your family, for your community, anywhere you can dream. So for our next event, I want you guys to be thinking about women in history. And we have a circle of possibility for these women. Be any woman. What do you think their dreams look like? Robin, if you're a woman in 1818, you're dreaming big. What do you think that would look like?
Healthy babies.
Babies. I love that you said that. Ange.
Gotta find me a husband.
That's right. Nancy.
I would say survival.
Yeah, right? Just want to live like past 12. Christine.
Faith is probably something that.
Faith?
Faith.
Okay.
You have to have a lot of faith.
Good. Yeah, so that's a circle of possibility. I want you to think about that and then think about, as women today, how that looks a little bit different. So in your journal, does everyone have their journal? In your journal, I want you to be thinking about who's a famous woman leader that you admire. Okay? Write that down, please. Who's a famous woman leader that you admire? Also, Nicole, if I could have you pass out the index cards to everybody, one please. Ask yourself, in our group of our student group and our leadership group, so both, who would you follow and why? So this first woman is probably best known woman in the Bible, or the Torah. The story of this woman began in Genesis and has had an enormous influence on women's lives and roles for thousands of years. As the first woman, according to the biblical story, she represents all women. She's a mother, the mother of all living, as she is called in the biblical narrative. And indeed, she represents the maternal potential of adult women, but she is also called a sinner and a seductress. And she is considered secondary and subordinate to man. Close. Yep, Sean's got her. Who is that?
I believe that, not knowing a whole lot about the Bible, I believe this is Eve.
It is Eve. So name one thing that you can relate.
Well, just battle with authenticity and right and wrong.
Yeah, the right and wrong.
Genuine.
Good. Thank you. The second woman, powerful, beauty. She was the last ruler of Egypt, Ptolemaic Egypt. She sought to defend Egypt from the expanding Roman Empire, and in doing so, she formed relationship with two of Rome's most powerful leaders, Mark Antony and Julius Caesar. That's her. Who do you have?
Cleopatra.
Cleopatra. And how could you relate to her?
I'm a badass.
That's right, you are. Nice. Okay. This next woman is called something that I don't like very much, but she was considered the whore that Jesus favored. In the historical story, biblical story, in some writings, she was considered Jesus' wife. She was a minister. Accounts from the gospel and other sources suggest that she was one of Jesus' most devoted followers. She stood near him at his crucifixion and was the first to see his resurrection. Mary Magdalene. How perfect Miss Minister got that.
All right, is this planned?
Nope.
Ah, how can I relate to her? She's a lot of what I want to be.
So she inspires you.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Okay, this next woman, at 14, ran an army of men. She was burned at the stake for her visions. The patron saint of France, she inspired a French revolt against the occupation of the English. She was an unlikely hero at the age of just 17, and she successfully led the French to victory at Orleans. Her later trial and martyrdom only heightened her mystique. Joan of Arc. So you have the amazing Joan of Arc. How can you relate to her, Robin?
Vision.
Yes, that's perfect. I love that. Thank you. This next amazing female was one of the most famous authors of all time. She wrote several novels which remain highly popular today. These include Pride and Prejudice, Emma and the Northanger Abbey. She wrote at a time when female writers were not encouraged. They didn't want to hear what women had to say. She helped pave the way for future writers. That's Jane Austen, if you're familiar with famous writer Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. How could you relate to her?
Well, I would like to be someone who's not afraid of stepping into the unknown
Great. That's really powerful. Awesome. My grandmother used to talk about this one. This British nurse was famous for changing the role and perception of the nursing profession. Her dedicated service won widespread admiration and led to a significant improvement in the treatment of soldiers and wounded soldiers.
I'm not sure. No.
Does anyone know without the picture?
She wasn't looking, but is that her?
Florence Nightingale?
Florence Nightingale.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like I recognize her face and I just.
She really made the role of a nurse well respected, for females. It's really important, and we know how much nurses impact the medical profession today, so we were just talking about that. This next woman was an American campaigner against slavery. And for the promotion of women's and workers' rights, she began campaigning within the temperance movement, and this convinced her of the necessity for women to have the right to vote. She toured the U.S. giving countless speeches on the subjects of human rights. You know who that is?
I'm blanking her name. I should know it.
Anybody?
Ah,
Susan B. Anthony. Thank you, Rebecca. How could you relate to her in your leadership and your power?
just empowering women.
Yeah. Yeah, women's empowerment, right? We want to say something, we want it to count. Great, I'm gonna do one more, then I'm gonna ask Nicole for one of the cards. Do we get them all? Thanks. This American social activist, at the age of 19 months, became deaf and blind. Overcoming the frustration of losing both sight and hearing, she campaigned tirelessly on behalf of deaf and blind people.
Helen Keller?
That's right.
Tanya Keller?
Yeah, Keller. How'd you get Mary Magdalene and Helen
I don't
Keller?
know.
Nicole?
They're literally my two favorite stories, so.
Yeah, I'll take two. How could you relate?
God, she just pushed through no matter what, and she had an ability within her that no one thought she did, but she believed enough in herself to just push through and change the world.
Sounds like you. Does. Okay, I'm gonna swing back and read a couple of these. So the question was, who would you follow and why? The first card says Nancy. Where's Nancy? Oh. Nancy, because she's a giver, team, healthy, boot camp graduate, and because of her life purpose. It's awesome. Okay, the second one, Rebecca Silence, because of her tenacity, her strength, and her compassion. So true. Awesome. Okay, moving on. This next woman, I think, is just fabulous. She's a French fashion designer. She's one of the most innovative designers, and she was instrumental in defining feminine style and dress during the 20th century. Her ideas were revolutionary. In particular, she took traditionally male clothing and redesigned them for the benefit of women. Yes, do you know who that is?
I don't, is it Dior?
Coco Chanel.
Oh, Chanel.
Yes, I don her perfume. Because she's strong. So how do you relate to her?
An eye for beauty and classic style.
I love that. That's awesome. So this next woman, who was potentially gay And she decided to stand by her husband for the people. She was a wife, political aide of an American president. In her own right, she made significant contribution to the field of human rights, a topic she campaigned upon through her life. She was the head of UN Human Rights Commission, and she helped to draft the 1948 UN Declaration of Human Rights. Mm-hmm.
Is it
I'll give you a hint.
Roosevelt?
Yeah? Eleanor Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt. So how could you relate to her, Sean?
Oh man, probably compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah, compassion and love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, this next amazing woman was a nun charity worker, devoting her life to the service of the poor and dispossessed. She became a global icon for selflessness. Through her missionary charities organization, she personally cared for thousands of sick and dying people in Calcutta. She was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979.
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. And Miss Rebecca, how can you relate to her?
I think her commitment to service
Yeah.
every day of her life and her faith in life purpose.
Amazing. That's perfect. Thank you. Okay, this next woman was badass too. American civil rights activist, she refused to give up her bus seat in Montgomery, Alabama. It indirectly, led to some of the most significant civil rights legislation in American history. She sought to play down her role in the civil rights struggle, but for her peaceful and dignified campaigning, she became one of the most well-respected figures in the civil rights movement.
Rose Park.
Miss Rosa Parks.
Yay, Rosa.
And how could you relate to her?
Her willingness to take a stand, even if it isn't popular,
Yeah,
and her ability to use her voice.
yeah. At a time that was very scary. And I think even today as women, we can still relate to that. You know, it's not easy to use your voice all the time. Thank you. This woman, she's a legend. American actress who became one of the most iconic film actresses ever. Her films were moderately successful, but her lasting fame came through her photogenic good looks and her aura of glamour. Ooh, yeah. Who do we have there?
Marilyn,
Marilyn Monroe.
Norma Jean.
And how can you relate to Miss Marilyn?
She was an introvert, grew up in the Midwest, vulnerable, and for women having everything is sometimes having nothing.
Yeah, real.
Real.
That's real. Thank you. This next woman might be the most referenced woman in Legacy Training Institute. Besides Heather Steele. She's an American talk show host and billionaire businesswoman. She was the first woman to own her own talk show, her book club, on and on and on and on.
Lover.
We have,
Oprah,
yes,
and she makes a living telling other people's stories.
yes.
She's a world visionary about right action and a warrior of consciousness.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nicole, may I have 2 more of those, please? Thank you. Okay, 2 more. Seeing a little trend. Next one is Nancy. And the reason that we would follow you is because of your perseverance, healing, your accountability. You're successful. And your courage. Wait, I can't. Something about your recovery. Who wants to own up?
I will.
Yes,
I got believe it fast. Yes, it's about her courage for.
your courage through your recovery.
Yeah,
Awesome.
got it.
Thank you. Next boss woman leader is Becca H. And that's because you have a big, honest heart. And so we want to follow you for that. Okay, a couple more. This next woman was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean alone. She was an aviator born in Kansas. She didn't let her gender stop her from achieving her dreams. She was the first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and she went on to design clothing and to become a faculty consultant at Purdue University. We have
Amelia Earhart.
Amelia Earhart. How can you relate to her, Miss Becca?
Well, she's adventurous.
Yes.
She is willing to take risks.
Awesome.
And she has a lot of passion in her life.
Oh, I love that. And so do you. Okay, last but absolutely not least, this woman authored 7 autobiographical books, including I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and will forever be beloved for her powerful poems. Born in Missouri, she was an active voice in the civil rights movement. We have
Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou.
And because I have a big heart, I was born in Missouri, but what I really, really like about her is she's willing to say things and stand up for what she believes in.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So when I was doing this assignment, part of it was to think about where women lose their power. So all of these women that we just talked about and acknowledged all their amazing qualities and how they have strengths in their leadership, they've also had struggles along the way, right? So we talk about women losing their power to men, women losing their power to other women, to children, money, society. When I thought about this, it was like an internal struggle for me. Because initially I was like, yep, that's true, yep, sometimes other women aren't supportive and men tell women they can't do things, and I grew up poor, and how we lose our power to men, children, women. In my experience, and by the way, Oprah agrees with me, is that it's simply not true. Oprah said, you are responsible for your life. You can't keep blaming somebody else for your dysfunction. Life is really about moving on. How women lose their power to men, children, money, etc., is by believing it's even possible to do that. By believing a story. We tell ourselves a story about how it happens. No one can take it away. We give it away. Why? Why do we do that? Is it innate? Is it nature, nurture? Where did we learn this? We talked about everything we know we learned, and everything we learn we can unlearn. So I want you to think about that when you think about how women lose their power. Ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to help my father save our family. I would have done anything to help, including sacrificing myself and even abuse. I believe that all women want to help, lead, and give to their family and community at almost any cost. We are the circle of possibility tribe, so to speak. Along the way of leadership is often lessons of suffering and pain. In this struggle, we lose so many women leaders. They are called victims. My coach, Nicole Latini, gave me the name of this gentleman, and this just resonated with me when I thought about women losing their power. His name is Gary Zukav, and he talks about authentic power. And when I think about not giving my power away, I think about owning it, having it be mine, my authentic power. And he says, we are all born to live in the sweet spot. When we align our thoughts, emotions, and actions with the highest part of ourselves, we are filled with enthusiasm, purpose, and meaning. When the personality comes fully to serve the energy of its soul, that is authentic empowerment. Fulfilling your purpose with meaning is what gives you that electrifying juice and makes people stand and wonder at how you do it. The secret is alignment. When you know for sure that you're on the course and doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Fulfilling your soul's intention and your heart's desire. Or whatever you choose to call it, your dreams, your goals. When your life is on course with its purpose, you are your most powerful. And you may stumble, but you will not fall. Since you know my story and have experienced my commitment to be the best leader and coach that I can be, I also want to express my message to all women. My message to women is, the part of yourself that loves so deeply is not the part of yourself to correct. It is the part of yourself to protect. So with the right support and self-growth, women will not only save themselves and their families, they can save the world.